Okay, cool. Yeah, and then it was awesome. Sanaya had let me know that just about you. I was letting her know that me, Paloma, and then we have another member of our group, Luis, who is not here today. That we
Hmm.
are doing a project on covering like CIP and its significant events throughout just since its inception. So we would
Okay.
love to, hear from you what you would have to add to it and stuff. We're our main goal is to kind of highlight things that maybe aren't mentioned or things that we don't have information on, whether it be in the UOP archives or just general information and about the CAP program in general, just because, we think it would be important to spotlight more things that maybe some alumni could talk about. But yeah,
Okay. I did do something for the archives just recently. I don't know if you knew that that there was a
no, I did
recording.
not.
Yeah, there was a recording done. I think I'm not sure which month it was, but that's one of the reasons why I'm here. Where I came down was to one, see my family and my brother, but at the same time drop in on the CIP program and because I had promised them that I would drop by and meet people and let them know that I wasn't a ghost. Because
That's awesome.
I don't think there's too many 1969 the original CIP students still around. I know that they were looking for some. I know Tommy Ware dropped in and talked to some people at the CIP program, but they did a full documentary thing with me. But I'm open to any questions that you have, and just ask me, and I'll see what I can answer.
Okay, awesome. Just real quick about that. Was it a video interview or like audio interview or
It was I don't know if it was recorded, but I guess it was because we spent a long time. It was like this, but it was like on Zoom, just like this. And I
Mhm.
was in Vancouver, BC at the time. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'll definitely ask them about that. Me and Paloma here, we recently stopped by there.
Oh,
Trying
her
to
name's
we were looking through
Paloma?
like
Yeah.
Oh no, I knew a Paloma at the uni when I was teaching at the University of Oregon. Right on. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from here, from Stockton.
Oh no, what high school did you go to?
Health Careers Academy.
Oh, okay. I went to Edison. Who's the other guy? Where are you from?
I went to Lincoln High School.
But you grew up in Stockton.
Oh yes, yes, grew up in Stockton. And we're
Okay,
both a part of
okay,
the CIP
okay.
program.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are? Hey guys, you
Yeah,
are? All right.
Yeah.
All right. What year do you think you're going to graduate? You guys.
I think we're both 25, spring
Yeah, the
25.
goal is 25,
Oh
2025.
my God. Yeah, I was 74. Yeah. 74, 75. I
Um,
gotta go look at the diploma one of these days. But any questions you
so
want to ask me?
I think, yeah, well, obviously I'm sure we both have some questions that we're thinking of. I think just to start it off, like what was your experience like first? Like how did you find yourself in CIP? Like what was that process and
Well,
what was your
two
just
things.
general experience like?
I don't go too far away here. I'm in this hotel room. It's really weird. If you want to know how I found out about CIP, I had been working on the Kennedy campaign for a while, but I also had been working with Dr. Martin Gibson, who's the head of the psychology department at UOP, while I was at Edison. And he had me come up to the college a couple of times. This is one story, but I've got another story to tell you. He came up. I came up to the college a couple of times to work with him in neurophysiology while I was in high school. I was only 17, and he taught me how to put electrodes in rats' brains, and we were mapping the hypothalamus, and that's what he was doing. And it was for a paper that he did. I think I'm in the paper as a lab assistant or something at 17, but I thought that was really kind of cool. But he's the one who initially called me back because I was doing something else during that summer besides protesting against the Democratic Convention in Chicago and a few other things. But he called me back to the university and told me that the CIP program did get started, and that's when I first and that he was going to put my name in for it, and I had to fill out an application, and that's how that started. But my first connection is really kind of strange because I grew up in the downtown. Oh, I mean, sorry, I keep thinking I'm in Vancouver. I grew up in the south side of Stockton, where we didn't even know that UOP existed when we were kids. So the only time I found out about UOP was that my dad became the head custodian at the university, and he had me come up and work with him sometimes. I must have been about 15 years old or 14 years old. And I went to the common room while I was here, and it's got nothing but cubicles and people in it. I don't know if you ever heard of the Raymond Common Room or knew about it, but I did 36 plays there. Plus, the first time I came to UOP to clean up was there at the Common Room, and I found a Shakespeare book there, and my father told me I could come to school here, and I first thought that was a possibility. But then as time went on and I was coming up to the university and meeting Dr. Martin Gibson, I could see that there was no path for me to the university. So I was looking at other scholarships. I got a scholarship to Berkeley and a scholarship to what was the other one? New Mexico Tech. Because I had at Edison had been the president of the Science and Math Club, and I'd been doing theater and stuff too. But that's how I got interested in it. Was when Martin Gibson told me that there was possibility. So then I started. I went to the freshman camp and started there. Started coming to CIP there. That's where I got to meet everybody. Can't remember everybody's names that were there, but it was pretty radical freshman camp. They had a Student for a Democratic Society (SDAS) member there, and they had a couple of Black Panthers talking at the freshman camp, and people were. It was a pretty radical freshman camp talking about the war in Vietnam and against the war in Vietnam, and also the issues around racism and stuff like that. And they had some guest speakers. Mostly were Black and Hispanic guest speakers, except for Carl Oglesby, who was with the SDS, who was white. The student, I don't know if you guys knew who the Student for Democratic Society was, SDS. You ever heard of those guys? They blew up
I'm not
banks.
familiar.
They blew
Okay.
Oh,
up banks. They blew up banks,
Okay.
and they're a pretty radical group. And these are some heavy radical people talking to university students at UOP.
Yeah,
And we were the
definitely.
first, it was the largest group of minority people to be there, to be a part of the community, and it was really kind of strange having everybody together at freshman camp. And it was a pretty
How
heavy
big was
freshman
the
camp.
initial class?
My group was I think there was anywhere from 150 to 200, I think. I don't know if I've ever met all of them, but when I started in 1969, I wanted to stay on campus. But they wouldn't let us stay on campus, or they wouldn't give us money also to stay on campus. But they just didn't want us there. So I went and tried to find if there was a way I could stick around campus, and I found out through a friend that Alpha Kappa Lambda, which is I don't know where you know where the Dinosaur Church is. I call it the Dinosaur Church. It's across the street from UOP. It's and on the other side there's
Oh,
fraternities and
yes. Yeah,
sororities
yeah.
over there. Okay, there
okay.
was one called Alpha Kappa Lambda, and there was kind of like the animal house of UOP. Everybody there smoked pot, but the funny part about it is the president of the student union was also there, Frank Strauss. He was a good friend of mine, and I never got heavy political in the political aspect of, and also Pete Jensen, who was a basketball player but a great writer and a political activist too. They had been rooming together in Berkeley, and I seen them a couple of times around Berkeley when I was there that summer, and I didn't know. I was really kind of blown away. Here I was going to see them again at the fraternity house, but we termited there. You know what a termite is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can live there, but you can't you can't join.
Right.
That was the fraternity that it had the cannon. When every time the football game they scored, they fired the cannon. A lot of funny stories around that. But yeah, that's the first place I stayed was in what we call the Red Brick House. And we have some really wild students, I'll tell you. It was the animal house of UOP for sure. Yeah.
Um, I guess I also were I think something that me and Plum were discussing that we're interested in is like, when we were doing research through the digital archives, a lot of the information we were told to go through the Pacific Review and the Pacifican to find information that might stick out to us. Something we kind of were discussing is that there's not a the struggles of the C.I.P program or the struggles that they had, whether it be against UOP or ASUOP or other things, like we found some things like that, but they're not highlighted. Obviously, they don't want to display that
Oh,
on a great scale.
no.
So I think that's something that we're curious on shedding more light on is what were some of like the struggles that students in the
The
C.I.P
big,
program had
oh,
to deal with?
yeah, the biggest struggle was we didn't have support services. People were dropping out left and right at the beginning because there were no support services. What I mean by that is tutoring programs or advisors. Like you guys got tons of shit now. We didn't have that. So the only person we had was ourselves and the connections we made with people on campus and specifically white students on campus because some of the white students were trying to get us off campus because they felt that we were taking their money that we were what was it that they were paying for us to go to school. And the university professors didn't help out very much either because they saw us as just being stupid, because we came from dilapidated school systems and that we were like second chance kind of people. And they treated us that way in the classroom. I remember many a times being told to get out of the classroom when I was having arguments and stuff. My favorite class was Dr. Mark Ely's class, Black Studies. That really kept me at UOP was that and Martin Gibson's psychology programs, some of the TAs there, and Dr. Fred Muskell. He was one of the great teachers at that time, and also Callison College. And I don't know if you knew about Callison College. That's the one where the students stayed on campus the freshman year, but then the next year they went to India. Those were
Mhm.
really liberal programs and liberal students. The Raymond College, like I just mentioned, which was a sort of experimental learning process. So and then there was Albert Cavell College. Are you guys familiar with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
Oh, the reason why I'm saying these colleges to you because they're the ones that we kind of gravitated to because we couldn't really gravitate to students at COP because it just wasn't happening for us. So we went and found the people that were liberal on campus to do that. Albert Cavell was President Kennedy. John Kennedy wanted to bring the Latin countries in closer to the United States. So he created a college at UOP called Albert Cavell College. And in that college, he put Latin students that were from military people from Colombia or Brazil or Chile, and also high level political people in that kids in that college. Pretty rich kids, but they were pretty liberal in that sense. I don't know if anybody ever knew any of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I still have contact with a lot of them chasing their military trying to chase the cartel around down in Latin America. But
Wow.
that was the connections we made. We made all kinds of connections. With Callison College, it was really good because it brought us another type of thing, and also great professors like I can't remember his name right now. My daughter just met him in San Francisco. This professor, he was, I think he was kicked out of UOP or kind of pushed away from UOP. I'll remember his name in a minute. But anyway, that was one of the biggest problems we had was finding people that we could spend time with. But on a political note, there wasn't very much involvement in the student body itself. I didn't, except for we were involved with demonstrations against the war in Vietnam. Whenever those demonstrations came out, the CIP students came out in force, and we supported those. Or anything about, I remember there was a number of students killed in Mississippi, Mississippi State, and also the kids that were killed in Ohio during the Vietnam protests and stuff. And there was mainly a lot of that, and we were involved with a lot of that on campus. And a lot of that took place at the chapel, believe it or not. Yeah, it was pretty radical back in those days. The chapel. Larry, I forgot his name, Larry something or other, but he was running the chapel at the time, and stuff. But the football, football was the football, and that was involved in stuff and students there. But there wasn't a lot of political things that I was involved with the student body, except for I knew Frank, and Frank would come and talk about some stuff. We weren't really a part of it because we couldn't participate really at that time, my freshman year. And we were just doing what we could to hang on,
Yeah.
just to hang into class. Yeah, because it was totally new for a lot of us.
What did you major in at UOP?
I majored in social sciences and Black studies.
Awesome.
And I dabbled in the psychology department off and on, so that's why I kind of still stuck with psychology. But my first major, and I was talking to my nephews last night who also went to UOP with the CIP program, and I found out that we all entered as medical, wanting to go to medical school, but we ended up doing something else because it was really hard for us to get through the medical program. They really kept us out of it, and the fraternity students really made sure that I didn't. I remember getting a fight in the bookstore with SAEs that were pre-med students that were supposed to be in my class, and they just didn't like me at all. They didn't want me to be part of the process because they thought I didn't deserve to be there. So I changed my major to social sciences and psychology, and also Black studies.
So there was like a lot of conflict on campus between the already existing student body and then the incoming CIP students.
Yes, there was. We had a lot of. I remember Pete Carroll. It's really funny. Pete Carroll. He just got an honorary doctorate. I don't know how he got that. Most of the time he was drunk, but he was. He confronted us a couple of times about some stuff, and now he's still having some problems with the Seattle Seahawks. I heard Snoop Dogg got in his case about talking bad to the black football players. So he still has it. I mean, there was they a lot of times we were just ignored and or just kept out of anything that was on campus that was running. And there were in the Black Studies department that's in the Black Studies classes. That's where a lot of battles took place, a lot of arguments about what was happening on campus, and people bringing their frustrations out was there. I really enjoyed the coming there and seeing all the representation of Hispanic or Chicano. I talked to the Hispanic and Indigenous representative who's in the downstairs place down there. I don't know what that area is called, and then the upstairs, the Black Studies, and then CIP. But we never had that much space to be able to come together. That was another thing was wasn't that much space. And also the draft really kind of messed us up too because a lot of us had low draft numbers, and so we were worried about being drafted. But if you had a 2S deferment, you were doing great. But I never we most of us kept looking at what was going on in the community because we were community people doing community things, so we were focused on that a lot more than what was going on at the campus, in my opinion. But I didn't see a lot of people doing a lot of things for the university to make anything different at the first year in '69. Now in 70 and 71, there was a movement. People started going into involvement into the school politics. And I really couldn't tell you what that was. I never really got involved in it very much. But I know there was more people involved at that point.
Would you say from the first year until you graduated, you saw a lot of growth or a lot of setbacks, like either or that were happening,
Yeah,
either in your
I
personal
didn't see.
experience or in the program?
Yeah, I didn't see any growth. I saw well, I saw we got more support services to be able to stay in the school. There was more things and advisors and everything came popping up, and that would worked out really well. But inside the CIP to hang on to students. But as far as anything with the university itself, like I'm hearing that you guys have that you're on committees and doing things and stuff. That didn't happen. That didn't change at all. We still were kept away from any decision making process or even asking how we're doing or what we could do on the campus. And coming back, and looking around the campus, it just I just had this feeling that people are involved, but at a very low level. You're not involved in a higher level of being able to make decisions and changes with curriculum and on campus. But you probably are. I don't know. I just didn't see it. But I know that Black Studies not there anymore, and that was one of my majors, and that was a bummer. And that's sad because that was an important factor for getting Black students at the university. And that was another thing I noticed was while I was there was there was less Black students on the campus.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that, and then the blacks or now I guess it was called the African American studies wasn't just for the black community because there was no Chicano studies at that time. There was no Arab studies at that time. There's only the Black Studies department, Mark Ely, and he covered a wide range of things to try to get us educated. Because well, I didn't know anything about my people before I got there, except for what we were the protests that we were doing. Because I was a Black Panther at the time, and I was trying to work into the Democratic Party at the same time, and I just didn't have any history behind me. I didn't know why. I knew we were from my background is Black in West Indies. I knew, and I was raised in all Black family, so I knew that there was wrong in the Black community, but historically, I didn't know what and how these things came about. But I don't know if you guys get more of that now than we had back then. But I noticed that it was slowly slipping away as I was graduating. Was slowly slipping away because most of us we would rather work outside the university instead of in it. We wanted to do work in the community because we knew we were accepted and we were involved in things. I went and developed a theater company with the Anderson Y Center. You know the Anderson Y? Is it still there? Yeah, yeah, it is.
Not
Yeah,
super
yeah,
familiar with
that's
that.
yeah. They Dr. Dan Baba or Father Baba ran the Anderson Y, and upstairs is where the CIP student program was. He was able to give them a space upstairs, but he was kind of forced to do that. I was talking to him a few years ago and trying to find out a little bit more history about how it all came about. And but he helped me develop a number of programs. One was a theater program that I did in the community, and later on, as time went on, I kind of expanded the grants bigger. There was employment development for low income kids, so it expanded. Other people were doing other things in the projects in the community and stuff. But as far as on the campus, I couldn't tell you how much politically we were getting ahead. Uh, but I'm just surprised that it's there. The CIP is still there in 2023. I was like kind of blown away when I got a phone call, and somebody asked me if I would do the interview, and that people had known about me, and I didn't even know if anybody knew about me. I was going, oh, okay. And so they wanted to interview me, and so I just told them what I knew, Yeah.
Paloma, I'll leave you if you want to ask any questions. I gotta
Uh,
figure out some things on this end because of the meeting time and stuff.
so do you think that CIP like contributed positively to your higher education experience?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. It did. I learned an awful lot while I was at the campus. One was how to get along with white people. That was one thing. That was a very important thing. And how to make allies and move forward with allies in the campus. But academically, I learned a great deal on at the university. I was also part of teacher corps.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys were aware of teacher corps. Is it still around? Uh, but what it was you worked half day in the schools as a teacher, and half day you went to the university to do classes. Teacher Corps was set up to put more minorities into the classrooms in the United States, and they were all over universities. And UOP had one. And after I graduated from UOP, I went into the Teacher Corps in the School of Education. But I learned an awful lot academically. I learned more in Mark Ely's class about why I exist. But then academically, I learned an awful lot about sociology and psychology. I had a chance to meet some people that had developed some psychological modalities. I met Jean Piaget and spent time with him. I met some unique people that made me feel that I could do, and this is academically too, is that I could rise above other things that I wanted to do, and then I do exist, and I'm able to do the things I wanted to do. But it was hard because you are constantly being told you don't know anything in the classrooms.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. But the psychology and the sociology departments, I learned an awful lot about social structures, and I went on. A lot of that stuff helped me out when I became an adjunct lecturer at the University of Oregon and down at UC Santa Cruz and stuff when I started teaching in a university.
Mhm.
So as an instructor, so a lot of that information was really good. Also teaching. Um, Dr. One of the professors threw me into the classroom really early, where I had to lecture to 200 people when I was a freshman.
Oh wow.
But even watching their style was really great because it was really a time to be alive as an educator in 69 and 70 at UOP. But those teachers didn't last very long because they kind of got pushed out if they didn't get back to the normal thing. Oh, Lars Gansel was the professor at Callison College that I really enjoyed. He was the anthropology teacher for them, and also Fred Muskell at the School of Education. We had something called I&I courses where they took history and anthropology and science, and they all mingled it together and developed programs for us, which was really good. It was really opening academically for me. But yeah, I learned an awful lot but mostly teaching was really the style of teaching these guys had was really good. It was engaging students instead of sitting back on the podium.
Yeah.
They would come right up in the audience with us and talk with us and stuff. And so they taught me to do that. And since then, I've used that an awful lot in my career.
Mhm. So, as part of the first graduating class of CIP, is there anything that you would have changed from your experience in the program?
Yeah, I would have put us all on campus. I would and came up with more creating more of a community between CIP and the students on the campus. I think that we were thrust in there, and we never did get past the racism.
Yeah.
I think that if we created a sense of community, that we had food that we could get together, and I think that that separation is still going on. I had that feeling around the campus when I went to visit. There's still this separation between the CIP and the rest of the population of the school. I think we could have been more of an ambassador to educate them. The people I ran into that became allies with me, and I got to know them. Uh, it was because I engaged with them, and
Mhm.
we did a lot of engaging, and we created a sense of community. And I think that's what I would say is more needed, is that more of an exchange of cultural ideas.
Yeah.
And also and but students don't want to do that sometimes. Some of the, you got the Donald Trump people, so you know, they don't want to get in, but we have to have a place to start those conversations.
Mm.
If we don't, then we're going to still be 50-50 separated.
Exactly.
But there are some students on campus that didn't like me, and we still were friends. I mean, our cultural thinking was different. They were pretty racist, but they would listen and grow a little bit.
Mhm.
But that's because I engaged them on my own. I wish CIP would have set up more community activities, and the university would make sure that the students would show up to learn that. I'm working up north with some universities and with about indigenous programs.
Mhm.
And one thing we found is we having feasts and talking circles has helped an awful lot. I wish we had come from a more spiritual approach with the campus too, and that's not what was going on. It became more of a political battle. So I think that that's where the biggest problems were.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I look back on it, but I think CIP was doing so much to keep its head above water and trying to graduate students that it wasn't thinking about educating the campus at the same time. So I think that's what, and then there was also the university constantly putting pressure on CIP to develop something or to so how many students can you graduate and be successful, and can they be successful? uh, but that was the problem with the coming into a white university that is somewhat racist, and even today they don't want you to take a certain higher level of involvement to where things you can change things. Maybe you do, but I'm not aware of it. I know I was talking to some CIP people, and while I was there, and some people said that they could bring it up to a committee about the Black, starting the African American studies again.
Mhm.
That was a possibility. So things like that, if you had that much involvement in power, I think that would be good. I wish we had it back then. But you really had to be quiet back then because or you wouldn't be on campus one way or another. You'd been off. And then there was the drugs and the alcohol. Not me, but the whole campus. You know, and the times were changing. Then we went from dorms that were just for women and men to co-ed dorms, and even co-ed bathrooms. They got really liberal at the university at that time. And that kind of brought us, some of us, together in a lot of ways. We learned more about each other because there wasn't this separation so much on the campus. Yeah. Anything else?
I just want to add, I think that's really interesting that you brought up about the separation. I mean, so me and this is our group is the cohort from 23, so this is our first semester at UOP.
Yes.
And I think, it's still beginning of our time there, but I think there is definitely from talking to older CAP members, faculty at CAP, I think there's still a separation between like the types of students that go there, and like
Yeah.
the types of interactions you have with other students. You could tell that there is like still a difference. And I think it would be interesting to
Hmm.
see how the university could put up more things, to just get everyone together. Because it kind of feels
Yeah.
like
If
it's
they have,
CIP and these are the people we know.
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I don't know. Your first year, hey, I'm glad this is your first year. Is this your first
Yeah.
year at
Well,
UOP?
so I believe me and Paul both transferred from Delta, and we're in our
Okay, a
third year.
Delta. Yay. Yeah. Delta used to be across the campus from UOP. Did you know that?
I
No,
did
we
not.
You guys didn't know that? Okay. Okay. You know where that other part of the campus is? Well, you know where that coffee shop is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Across the street, there's a bunch of buildings on the other side there. That was Delta College. And it was right next to UOP. And they still were separated. Yeah, people at Delta did not come over and spend time with people at UOP. They
Mhm.
had Delta College, and that was it. And then they moved from there up to Pacific Avenue. Uh, yeah, that's why I wanted to live on campus because I wanted to get the full experience of other students, and I can feel when my first year is that I was hard to break in because it was hard to make friends on the campus that weren't CIP students.
Yeah.
But once I joined that fraternity, I had just they were already they were outcasts because that was the Animal House, right? Those are the hippies over there, and so the rest of the SAE and Sigma Alpha Epsilon and Gamma Phi Theta and or whatever, they did not like them. So it didn't help my getting to know them any different because they see me and they know I was part of AKL. They just treated me differently. Now, Frank always found a way to get other people to talk to him. Frank Strauss, who was the ASUOP president, he had long hair and a beard, and he was always able to talk to any student on campus. They all loved him. They voted for him, and the fraternities voted for him because one thing is he threw good parties. He was that's what he was. And but it was hard for me as a freshman to and it was I can it was Pete Carroll. I'm gonna bring him up again. It was hard for him because he was a transfer student to UOP. And it was hard for him to get into the football, and he made some faux pas, you know. And we talked about it before when I was in my freshman year, and he was transferring from a college from the Bay Area, I think, or someplace. But we talked about how hard it was to be on campus because I was in over at 8KL, which is what was away from the campus across the street, and then later on I moved into the dormitories in the back. But only Carrollton College and Raymond College would let us move in. And then I still was separated from COP because most of COP is in the front. But I did see something called the Hub COP, which was really interesting. It was a building that was called COP. And I was going, this is interesting. I should have went in there. But I guess if you went in there, you could meet more COP students. But most of the time, I was separated from them, and we never did get to have I never was engaged to go to a lot of the COP functions on the campus. It didn't except for band frolic.
Hmm.
You ever heard of band frolic? Do they still do that?
I'm not
All the
sure.
houses had all the houses had yeah, all the houses had to put on a performance, and it was a competition. And Alpha Kappa Lambda won it every year in SAE, Phi Tau hated it that we did because we used the way we won it was we used things that made fun of the COP students, and they laughed at themselves. But that was the only time they all came together and worked together. That was it. But yeah, there is a separation, but it's hard. But yeah, you can break through it. One of the stories I want to tell you that about the fraternity. My father died in either October or November, my freshman year, and I went to the funeral. And all the students that were at the fraternity houses and sorority houses across the street came to my father's funeral. And that's when I knew that we had made a breakthrough in knowing everybody. And I became closer to them across the street than inside the university. But that wall still is up. I guess if you guys are seeing it, it's still up. There has to be more community as a whole together doing things. I don't know if how that works for you. So yeah. I like the dinners. I like the discussions and stuff. We always have great dinners up in Canada with the indigenous communities, and then we have talking circles to talk about our lives and share. And I think that that's what's not happening. I thought freshman camp should have happened all the way through my. There should have been retreats all the time and bringing the whole
Hmm.
campus away from UOP to a retreat and because I
Yeah.
think that that's what we were missing. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
just, something else I'd want to ask, like, is there anything, so kind of to also preface like the project a little bit more is like how we're documenting each, we want to cover each little bit of each decade. You're the first class, like, so obviously there's a lot of information you can share about its inception. There's a lot of documented information as well. From UOP's perspective, like, is there anything that, like, if you were to be reading an article or looking into this type of information yourself, that you would want to be known, you want people to know, like, these are the things that were happening, or this was your experience, or it could be really anything, but pertaining to you.
yeah. I think it's great because the first thing is I want when I got to UOP visiting this time, I went inside of Burns Tower and there's a group of students in there welcoming people. I guess it's information. And I said, "Hey, did you guys know that there was a sit-in here and this is how the CIP started?" And they all didn't know. They went, "Really?" And so I think going back and looking up how and why the CIP student program started, and also documenting the directors and what the directors of CIP were hoping that they would be able to accomplish. Because I've known now what 4 executive directors with CIP over the years, just by running into them and stuff. But I would, and also how the CIP evolved, and from not having support services. I think people should know about how support services and counseling and stuff like that is important for people to continue on. Because a lot of people coming from low income are traumatized in itself. So I'm a psychologist, so I'm looking at it from a traumatized situation, and also educating people about how hard it is for people to come from a poverty situation into a kind of like a community like UOP, and the history of how people were able to make that happen. How you can make that happen in the community, and how they struggled to make it happen. Also, struggling to stay alive. What are some of the things that, because I think somebody told me we almost lost CIP at one time in the history to this point. And also it's evolving, CIP is evolving now. There are going to be students staying on campus who are coming from outside. They're going now looking people outside further to come in, not just Stockton, but other parts of it, and they're going to stay on campus, I guess. I don't know. That's what I thought. But there was a program that was called the High School Equivalency Program that brought migrant students on campus to stay on campus. And that was a little battle in the dormitories, and they got their GEDs They got GEDs, and then they were taken and put back in a 2-year college. Um, but that's a I think that here we are again bringing people on campus to be able to stay who are almost close to homeless, and that is traumatic in itself too. But I think that looking at the evolution, that's what I would be looking into is what documents talk about meetings that people were in, and what are some of the things that they were able to accomplish to be able to move forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Um,
Uh,
I
okay.
think that that might be all the questions from me. Paloma, if there's
Oh,
anything
okay.
you would like to ask as well.
I think you covered pretty much everything. It's very interesting how you mentioned that about the separation and the dislocation of the CIP program. I think that in most of the articles that we were reading, they paint CIP as this like perfect little program that came in and everything was all, rainbows and sunshine. But seeing and hearing these like stories and perspectives from you can really shed light on what it actually really was and the things that we still need to fix, nowadays as well.
Well, there was several things that were going on. Is one, the professors on campus, they kept a lot of people out of the classroom, and then there were students that didn't want us there. And then the third thing is just the location of not being able to be there and
Yeah.
being a part of the community. And the fourth one is just not being able to be in a high level. Like I haven't really talked to my great niece about how her involvement is, because we haven't gotten that. She's told me a few things that she can do, but it seems like you have to be at a higher level, and there has to be more discussions on campus about what's going on, especially what's going on with the Palestinian and the Jewish community on campus right now. That's sad in itself. In 1973, we had a Black Studies. I remember we had Black Studies class that people were throwing chairs and stuff at each other. That was during the war when Egypt tried to invade Israel, and the war was in the Black Studies department. I didn't even know what was going on. I got there that day, and I know nothing about Egypt or Israel or Palestine or so
Yeah, I think
that's a
to
yeah.
add to that as well, is that currently the ASUOP president is and he is a CIP member, and then Sanaya is the vice president, also CIP, obviously. And seeing them and how um, they've taken a lot of initiative, and this, I mean, I've only been at UOP for 7 or 8 weeks now, and seeing like the impact that they're trying to make is really powerful, and even like what you're talking about with Israel and Palestine, they're definitely trying to spearhead um, a lot of positive change and allowing a lot more access to CIP, and you can see how much they're trying to make that scope a lot wider, not just for CIP, but on
Yeah.
campus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think that's great. But I also know that she had a rough ride of it, because I know that they tried to kick her out of there too. If you get too radical, then they will get rid of you, the administration of the university.
Hmm.
And that's where they had problems with me. It was because I was a revolutionary, and that's why I'm not mentioned sometimes as much on campus, because I would get up in meetings and we would have battles with people who are administration of the campus. And she's done really well being able to stay in there and be a representative and also a representative of change. And I really, when I heard that story, it made my heart get stronger. you know, being my great niece. So yeah, I think that there's going to be changes. Looking at what I'm seeing, there'll be you're way ahead of us, way ahead, light years ahead of us. And good luck on your first year. Well, this is your second year at college, right? You're
Um, well,
because you
for me, it'll be
transferred
my
over
third
from
year.
Yeah, same for me, my
your
third
third
year.
year. Your third year. Your third year. Oh, what you guys gonna do after you graduate?
Hopefully
What are you guys
work.
gonna do?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, you start it now. What I did was
Yeah.
I started doing stuff while I was in school, and then try to. There was no internship stuff back in my day. You just got thrown into whatever you had to do, and you had to make your own job. That's the way I've kind of lived my life, is making my own job. I only have a BA, but I've trained master degree people and people with doctorates over the years, and I've never had a master's. So I've made my BA go a long way and make a lot of money.
That's
So I
awesome.
say good. I say good luck to you guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for
Thank you,
giving
and
us your
thank you
time
for
today.
this. Oh, and thank you for this. It's a great honor to be asked to talk to, people who are still in school and doing things. Yeah, I taught at universities, about 4 universities, and I don't teach as much as I do counseling. I have a private practice now, managing family counseling, and I work still closely with indigenous communities and stuff, and child protection stuff, working in social services with people. But yeah, I just find it fascinating. University energy is really always good. Thank
But yeah,
you.
thank you so much. And you know, we're ha about we're kind of in the foundational parts of this project, so it'd be awesome to when we kind of put a bow on it by the end of the semester, would love to, keep contact with you and share it with
Oh
you, and
yeah, yeah.
and hopefully keep the project, something that maybe can be added on going forward past the semester, not just leave it in one place. But I think, adding all this perspective and new information to CIP, I think, is really important and would be really
Oh
awesome.
yeah, yeah. There would be no if there was no CIP, there would be no input outside that university. It would just be a white university, like it was before I went to school there. And that's scary because the people who are going to school there won't get any cultural awareness at all. And they're going to be the future of people developing things in the world. Okay. Hey, thanks.
All
I'll see
right.
you guys.
Thank you so
Bye bye.
much. Enjoy the rest of
It's
your
nice
day.
meeting you. Yeah, I'm
It's
working on
nice
it.
meeting you as
My
well.
Raiders lost already.
Oh man.
I'll see you. Bye.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah.
Paloma, while I still have you here,
Yeah.
um, okay, so what I wanted to say is, because I didn't want the Zoom meeting to end, so I just bought the pro thing, and it was $15, which is fine, but I have it until the 22nd.
Mm.
So if we're planning on doing more interviews going forward, I think let's try to get it done before the 22nd. Let's just utilize the membership since I have it.
22nd of what?
Oh, November.
Okay. Or so you have a month. Okay.
Yes, we have a month from now to utilize it. So let's utilize the $15 and try to make the most of it. But yeah, I was worried. I didn't want to cut him off, and I felt like he was sharing really good information. I think he gave us a lot of information that we can build off of as well. Something
For
that we can explore more.
Yeah. I mean, we for sure gotta go back and look at the recordings because he did go on a tangent. But let's just
Yeah.
bring yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think definitely. And honestly too, like, even if we can just summarize this whole interview into like an article,
exactly.
on Omeka, we can provide the Zoom, we can provide the transcription, and that's just more so on a project level. But as far as informational, it just kind of gives us more materials to work with.
Yeah, so
Okay. Well, oh, go ahead.
I know I was just gonna say that we really need to talk to Luis so he can give us like, the people that he got so we start
Yes.
these interviews, even if it's Zoom or in person. Whatever's
Yeah.
more yeah.
Okay. I think that is a great idea. Maybe we can follow up with him today or next class, whatever works. And then yeah, we can go for there. When we get off of this, I'll check the recording, make sure it's all good, and then yeah, we'll go from there.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Have
Well,
a good day then.
thank you. You too.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.